Well, tonight, the Congressional Committee investigating the January 6th Capitol attack goes primetime.
And lawmakers plan to show new evidence from that day, audio and visual, and witnesses. Washington correspondent Rashad Hudson is here with a preview of what we can expect tonight.
Tonight, the January 6th committee will bring the violent Capitol attack back into the spotlight. But the challenge will be trying to get the attention of the American people 16 months later.
I think it was a clear, flagrant violation of the Constitution.
President Biden says many Americans will be watching tonight as the January 6th committee showcases never-before-seen video in their first primetime hearing. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi praises the committee's work.
They have been hard at work doing their patriotic duty to seek the truth.
Recorded statements from some of the 1,000 witnesses who testified behind closed doors are also expected and could include members of the Trump family. Tennessee Congressman Steve Cohen calls that day a stain on democracy.
That this was the most serious offense ever committed, really, against this government.
But House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy calls the hearings illegitimate.
It has used congressional subpoenas to attack Republicans, violate due process, and infringe on the political speech.
And Indiana Congressman Jim Banks says the committee is not looking at the real problem.
Why were our officers under-equipped on that day?
The lawmakers will also hear from Capitol Police Officer Caroline Edwards, who was severely injured by the mob. And tonight's hearing is one in a series of hearings scheduled between now and the fall. Reporting in Washington, Rashad Hudson, back to you.
And for more on what to expect during tonight's primetime January 6th committee hearing, let's bring in Chief Legal Correspondent Seema Iyer.
Yeah, and Seema, we heard a little bit about what we can see tonight. What can you tell us about what we can expect tonight from these hearings?
Okay, so tonight should begin with opening statements, and that'll be from the chairman, Benny Thompson. He's a Democrat from Mississippi. And then the vice chair, Liz Cheney, who we all know very well. She's a Republican from Wisconsin or Wyoming? Sorry, Wyoming. Thank you, Brian. So those two will make opening statements similar to other types of hearings like this. And then we're going to get into the witnesses. Now, like Rashad said, the first witness should be the Capitol officer, Caroline Edwards. The fact that they're presenting her first is very analogous to how prosecutors sometimes present their cases. And remember, a lot of these congressmen, a lot of these senators, a lot of them are former prosecutors. And what prosecutors sometimes do is they put the first witness as the first witness or the officer on the scene, the person who was injured. And that is who Caroline Edwards was. She was on the scene and she was the first one injured at the West Front Plaza. Also expected to testify this evening is filmmaker Nick Kastad, and he was with the group who actually breached the riot. So he is expected to testify. So what?
The Proud Boys, yeah.
Yeah, the Proud Boys, right. Yeah, exactly. Okay. And then this is kind of the big news tonight is that we are expected to see video depositions from senior White House staff with the Trump administration. Drum roll, please. We're expected to see those video depositions of Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump. That is what we are expecting. Also, there could be some video evidence, video depositions from other members of the Trump campaign. So that's basically an outline of what is happening tonight.
And just to explain to everybody, now these hearings, this is the first of all these hearings. We're expected to have maybe 6 to 8 of these hearings in the month of June, and they're going to have another one in September. So moving forward, what can we expect at these different hearings?
Okay, one big focus of this investigation is 187 minutes. What was Donald Trump doing? And there's like a lapse in time in that afternoon. So that's a big part of the investigation. You're going to hear from witnesses who are going to fill in that gap. And you may see actual documentation, cell phone records, what have you. You're also going to hear a lot of people comparing that gap to the Watergate tapes gap. Because remember that 18 and a half minutes? So it's that similar gap of time that needs to be explained. Also, at least some of lawmakers are saying we're going to hear bombshell evidence. We're going to see never-before-seen video.
Do you think we'll get that on the first night?
No. No. I mean, it's only an hour and a half. I think tonight is just Caroline Edwards, the filmmaker, and the video depositions of
And
some
laying
of the
the
Trump
groundwork.
officials.
Okay.
Yes. But I also want to point out there are 5 sitting House Republicans that were subpoenaed to testify and subpoenaed to bring documents. Kevin McCarthy, of course, the House Minority Leader, the most visible. Scott Perry. Oh, Jim Jordan from Ohio. You know, that guy will be on forever. Mo Brooks, Andy Biggs from Arizona. So a lot of guys, they're all saying they're not going to testify. The question that we have to consider is, will this committee hold them in contempt for not testifying? So this is just more to come. But again, also, we could see just more people from the Trump administration and the Trump campaign that we're not even thinking about right now.
Overthrowing the United States government is serious business. It's important for the historical record here that they put all this in place, and that's one of the things that's been argued about here. But at the end of the day, when all these hearings are done, maybe in September or whatever, what's going to happen out of this? Or is it to arrest some political officials like the Trump and his allies, or also some other government officials as well?
I think I have a disappointing answer. So their idea is to present this voluminous report by September. So September will be the final hearing. So everything's in June, and then the final one's in September. Then this report. Who cares about a report? I don't know. Maybe the American people do. But it is possible they can make changes to an act called the Electoral Count Act. That's legislation. Also really important for our viewers to understand. They make laws. They are not law enforcement. So no, they cannot criminally prosecute anyone as a result.
DOJ can do that.
Right. So they make a recommendation. So they'll take this voluminous report, and that will go to DOJ, which I think also happened in a lot of police brutality cases like George Floyd and things like that, where Congress would provide these reports after an investigation, take it to DOJ. DOJ would use that to build a case. So that's
It's
possible.
still up to the DOJ. It's not saying, here, you have this, now do this.
Of course,
it's really up to
but I mean, think about how long this has been going on for. DOJ has made millions of arrests. They just made arrests yesterday, didn't they? Did they just make
and
arrests
today.
The first lawmaker. Right. So
Candidate for Michigan governor, yeah.
So they could have been
On the Republican
arresting
side.
these politicians that we're going to be hearing about a lot. I mean, he could have been arrested by now. He, capital H, and others.
Well, also to point out to our
Building a
viewers,
case. Yeah.
Okay, Seema Iyer, thank you so much. We have Seema tonight, so make sure that you know that
Brian
you can be able
is
to
not
watch
looking
the
forward
hearings.
to this, people.
You can watch the
He's
hearings
not.
right here on Queen City News. We will have complete coverage, and we also will have a wrap-up after the hearings happen to be able to give you more information. All right, Seema, we appreciate it. Thank you so much. See you tonight. So far, 21 people in North Carolina have been arrested in connection with the January 6th riots, and that includes 5 people from our area. Now, let's go through the list. Bradley Bennett is from Charlotte. He's pleaded not guilty to his charges. Johnny Harris is from Shelby. He has also pleaded not guilty. James Little is from Claremont. He's pleaded guilty to demonstrating or picketing in a Capitol building, and a judge sentenced him to 60 days in jail, probation, and a $500 fine. Tara Sotomayor is now from Conover, and she is facing several charges. Grayson Sherrill is from Cherryville. He is facing several charges and is accused of entering the Capitol building with 2 men from York County. Now, these are the 2 men investigators say were Wishrell Ellis Azari of Rock Hill and Elliot Bashai of Fort Mill. Now, Bashai pleaded guilty in April. Azari is now still out on release. Several family members from Indian Land and Rock Hill are also charged. We're going to go through that list now, too. Linwood Robinson, his 2 sons, Linwood Robinson Sr. and Linwood Robinson II, and his daughter-in-law Brittany Robinson are all now accused of entering the Capitol building on January the 6th.
And a programming note for you tonight on WJZY, we will be airing the Queen City News coverage of the January 6th committee hearings starting at 8 p.m. Queen City News at 10 will follow. MasterChef Junior will move to 11 p.m., followed by Don't Forget the Lyrics at 12 midnight. Extra will move to 1 a.m. TMZ runs at 1:30 a.m. Charlotte Sports Live will not air tonight.